Hi everyone, this is Stacy Jemison and we are live. If you guys can just let us know if you can hear our audio in the chat, then we'll go ahead and get started. We know there's a little delay, but if somebody will just kind of give us a heads up to say you can hear us, that would be so helpful. Okay. All right, I have a confirmation that y'all can hear us, so we'll go ahead and get started. So this session is about differentiated instruction and how to incorporate some strategies into the online learning environment. So thank you all for coming. We're excited that you're here. This is a first time for me and a first time for Kylene. So we are just going to claim our humanity and hope that everything goes well. And we appreciate your patience with all of this new stuff. So here we go. Let's get started. This slide is for our LPSB employees, our Livingston Parish Public School friends. This is for your attendance. So if you have a smartphone, if you want to just hover your camera over that QR code, that'll take you to the attendance. Otherwise, you can put the tiny URL in your bar and give yourself credit for being here today. So while you do that, we're going to chill. And if you are not some of our LPPS friends, then you can chill with us while everybody catches up and does a little housekeeping. Okay, so hopefully you've had enough time to at least get to that attendance form. So we are Kylene and Stacy. My name is Stacy Jemison. I'll let Kylene introduce herself to you in just a second. We are both numeracy and literacy coaches. We work with special education teachers across the district. We also work with brand spanking new teachers. And so we love our jobs and we are so excited to work together on such a new thing for the both of us. I have two daughters at home, Jenny and Jessie. I'm married to Jason. That makes me the only one in our house without JJ as my initials. So that makes me feel special. But anyways, we're glad to be here. We'll be working with a lot of you throughout the school year. So I'll let Kylene jump in and tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll get started with our content.
Hi, my name is Colleen Holman. I just completed my second year as a numeracy and literacy coach, which I absolutely love. I love working with teachers, just going through the chaos of everything, helping teachers kind of stay afloat. I also have two children. My son Joseph and Jenna are both in school at Livingston Parish, and they're loving it. They're looking forward to the virtual school option. And I'm married to a husband named Michael, who we've been married for 20 years. Gosh, it's been very long. We are also very excited to do this presentation and to learn from each other in our own parish.
So if you are like me, you like to have copies of things to keep for yourself to go back and review. So I'm giving you a few options here today. The first option is this QR code. If you want to hover over that with your smartphone, that'll take you to the presentation. So that's going to be in view only. And you can follow along that way if you'd like, or obviously, we'll have the presentation on the screen. But you can also access that to get your own copy of it. So once you download the presentation and you get to this slide, if you click at the bottom where it says click here, it'll force a copy of the presentation and you'll have your own to keep. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, our goal for this presentation is to leave you with resources. This session won't really be a sit and get more than a sit and listen to a whole lot of stuff, because we have a lot of stuff that we want to tell you about. But I know that I can't remember everything that I hear in an hour and 15 minutes. So I wanted to be able to leave you with something that you could go back and refer to. This presentation is full of links, resources, tutorial videos, all kinds of things. And so it's really more of a curation presentation than anything. So feel free to take a minute and access that if you'd like, and we'll go ahead and move forward with our agenda. We are going to be talking specifically about differentiated instruction. So whatever platforms we discuss today, any of the little strategies, the tips, the tricks, that kind of thing, I just want to encourage you to view that through the lens of this differentiated instruction framework. And you know this, you know that teachers can differentiate the content, the process, or the product, and they base that on student readiness, their interest, or their learning profile. And so our goal today is to just share with you some ideas that you can take with you and go back and refer to later and incorporate into your digital classrooms. But they're also based in face-to-face learning as well. So a lot of the things that you're doing in your classroom with your face-to-face students, you should be able to do with your online students, but maybe just with a little different platform. So we don't want you to feel like that you're going to have to reinvent the wheel. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that's already done for us. So we want to definitely take advantage of what's already there. If you'll notice at the top of the screen, there's a little Stacy in a chair. Click me for more info. That link will take you to a Google resource that has tons and tons of ideas about differentiating within the Google platform. So how to differentiate with slides, how to differentiate with docs, and so on and so forth. So that's a really good link to maybe even bookmark in your browser. So today our agenda is, it looks short, but it is full. We're going to take a deep dive into Zoom. Kylene is going to share with you some of her experience from her summer school classes. And then I'm going to take a deep dive specifically into Google Classroom and talk to you about some ways that you can differentiate instruction within that platform. And we'll also talk about some other platforms, and we'll just kind of wade through those. These are all platforms that you should be familiar with already. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have enough time to share ideas, answer some questions. So with regard to that, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Kylene's going to be monitoring it while I'm talking, and then I'm going to monitor it while she's talking. And then at the end, what we'll do is try to pull out some questions and answer them directly for you. And then if we have so many questions that we don't have enough time for, then I'll tell you at the end how we plan to address those questions. If just a reminder, if you haven't given yourself credit for attending, you should see a little banner at the bottom of the screen with the attendance link. So be sure and give yourself credit for being here. I think they're offering some door prizes for attendees, or possibilities of door prizes. All right. So I'm going to turn over the talking stick to my friend Kylene, and she's going to tell you about her experiences with Zoom.
Hi, everybody. Right now, I'm just going to spend the next couple of minutes or so diving into how you can differentiate using the platform Zoom. As Stacy said, I taught summer school this summer, and we use Zoom to teach summer school completely virtually. And I was scared at first. I was a nervous wreck at first. But to be honest with you, after the first 3 days, I felt comfortable. I felt completely at ease, that I felt like I knew what I was doing. And for me, I'm not a tech person, so that speaks a lot that I felt comfortable teaching in a Zoom all virtual setting. All right, so in this presentation, we are going to focus on breakout rooms, co-teaching, and the closed captioning option. So right now, let's just dive a little deeper into the breakout rooms. The possibilities for the breakout rooms are really endless. I'm just going to talk about a few ideas on how you can use the breakout rooms for differentiation, like small group or individualized instructions. Maybe students can work with a peer tutor. Teachers can give testing accommodations, or students can work independently on their own during independent practice time. So let's go ahead and show you the slide. This is just, like I said, I'm not a tech person. I need step-by-step instructions for anything tech related. So I kind of put these PowerPoint slides in here for those people who are like me. This slide just shows you how to enable the breakout rooms in your settings before you host a meeting. I have the step-by-step instructions listed here, as well as a little video right here for you to see how to enable the breakout rooms. Again, you have to enable the breakout rooms in your settings in order to even see the feature. So if you go into a Zoom meeting and you're like, I don't even see a button that says breakout rooms, that's because you haven't enabled it yet. So you would have to go to your account, go into settings to enable those breakout rooms. Very simple. It's literally clicking the little blue button, but you do have to do that first in order to use that feature. All right, so in the breakout rooms, the host does have some options. The host can either manually assign students to the breakout rooms, or you can let Zoom randomly assign students. As the host, I love this feature. You can assign multiple breakout rooms at one time. You can assign as many breakout rooms as you have students. You can also hop between breakout rooms as needed. So I'm going to show you today a little video of doing exactly that, how the teacher, the host, can go into each individual breakout room. So like I said, the possibilities of breakout rooms are endless. Just a few breakout room ideas that I used this summer, or I know people who did this during the summer school. Teachers can assign each student into their own independent breakout room while the teacher hops between each breakout room, giving individualized instructions. This would be great during that independent practice time, allowing students to be in their own room by themselves, working on, let's say, the Ready Math workbook, and the teacher goes from one room to the other, checking to see if they're doing okay, if they're getting the problems right, that sort of thing. This is another thing that we did this summer. Teachers can also put students who are ready for their independent work in their own individual breakout room, while she stays in the main Zoom room teaching the students who need the additional help. This allows the teacher to give that small group instruction to those students who she knows may really need it, while other students who are ready can work independently. So those are just a few of the ideas on how you can utilize the breakout room. All right. On this page, I need my step-by-step instructions. This is step-by-step instructions on how to actually assign students in your breakout room. I do have this short and sweet video that I am going to show you right now on how you can assign students manually or randomly using breakout rooms. Now we have, like Stacey said, we have tons of little short videos throughout the presentation. We don't really have time to show all the videos to you today, but we are going to show you this one. That way you can get an idea of how all the videos will look if you click on them. They're usually very short, 4 or 5 minutes, not very long. I do have at the bottom of the screen, click here for a more detailed video. That one is like 12 minutes long, but I did more videos giving you more ideas on how to use the breakout room feature. So right now, I'm just going to play the short and sweet breakout room video. That way you can kind of see exactly how you can assign students to it. All right, Stacey, there we go. Hi, this is going to be a short and sweet video on how you can utilize breakout rooms. As you can see, I already have the Zoom meeting. I'm sorry. Then let's say I'm going to go ahead and do 2 rooms. I'm going to do 2 rooms, and I'm going to hit recreate rooms. Now,
What's your password? I can't really hear the video.
Question or anything like that, they could hit the next. This since you need a little more.
All right, we had some in the comments that there were some difficulties hearing the video, but again, that kind of, hopefully you got an idea what the videos in the, or a little presentation here will be like. It's just very short videos that you can kind of see exactly how to use the breakout rooms feature, and also just give you ideas on how you can use the breakout rooms. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is how you can co-teach. Now, if you are blessed to have a co-teacher or a para assigned to your classroom, you can easily use Zoom to co-teach. This summer, it was myself and another 8th grade teacher who taught 8th grade math, and it was wonderful. We were able to co-teach every day. It was very easy to do. So our parish is purchasing Zoom Enterprise for all students. So you will, bell's ringing. Okay. Like I said, our parish is purchasing Zoom Enterprise for all for all teachers. So you will be able to enable the co-host option in your settings on Zoom. This summer, we did not have Zoom Enterprise. So my co-teacher and I, we were able to get around purchasing the paid version of Zoom by signing into the same account. Every morning, we both signed into one account, and we just made sure we changed our names once we did.
Okay, hang on. They're saying that they can't hear our audio. So you may have to go back.
Okay. The screen looks different now.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna
Like, are we?
we're gonna do this. Okay, guys.
All right, can y'all hear me now? We were wondering if we were going to have tech issues. If you can just put in the chat box if you can hear us. Okay, good. Okay. So, sorry, but thank y'all so much for letting us know. We really appreciate it. So I'll go ahead and restart this slide. So this summer I did teach summer school with another co-teacher, and it worked beautifully. So if you are blessed to have a co-teacher or a para assigned to your class, you can easily use Zoom to co-teach. Our parish is purchasing the Zoom Enterprise for all teachers. So you will be able to enable the co-host option in your settings. We didn't have the Zoom Enterprise available for us for summer school, so we did find a way that we could work around paying for the Zoom option. We just both signed into the same account. Whoever was going to be the lead teacher that day, we just signed into that person's account, And by us signing into the same account, we each had access to the participants tab and also the waiting room. So if she was going to be the lead teacher and I was going to be the assisting teacher, which we're going to go over in a minute, I was checking attendance in the waiting room. I could mute students. I could send private chats. And so that was one way we got around having to pay for the paid version of Zoom. But again, Zoom Enterprise is going to be purchased for everybody this year, and it does offer the co-host option. Good. Okay. All right, so real quick, I'm just going to go over, they do have multiple types of co-teaching models, and I'm just going to real quick try and explain how you can actually use these co-teaching models in a virtual setting like Zoom. And again, co-teaching, using these models, it does allow differentiation because the students get the option of how they want to receive their instruction. So this is just another way that we can offer differentiation. All right, the first one I'm going to talk about is the One Teach, One Assist. This is probably the most common type of co-teaching used, but you really don't want to use this model all the time. You don't want this to be the only type of co-teaching that you use. This is where one teacher is responsible for teaching the content to the whole class. So that may be like the lead teacher, while the other teacher is walking around assisting students as needed. Now, I know in a virtual setting like Zoom, how is a teacher going to walk around and check? We are literally looking at a computer screen. Well, in Zoom, the assistant teacher might concentrate on which students didn't get an answer correct. Maybe the students are showing their dry erase boards and she can make a list of students, oh wait, that answer was wrong. Or in summer school, instead of showing the dry erase boards, because we realized really quick that the students would just look at everybody's dry erase boards, and if they saw a bunch of fives, then he would put down a 5 real quick. So we started asking the students to send us the answers just to the teacher in the chat box. When you get the answer to this one, send me a message in the chat box. And so as the assistant teacher, she could be making a list, or he could be making a list of which students maybe got some questions wrong. Make a list of students who may be struggling. The assistant teacher can also send private chats to students, giving more detailed assistance or clarification. If I notice a student had a question wrong on the dry erase board and maybe they forgot to change the sign, I can send a private chat to that student without interrupting instruction, saying, hey, you forgot, that should have been a -5. But this model, again, you don't want to live there, but it does easily transition into our next model called alternative teaching. With alternative teaching, you have one teacher teaching the whole class while the other teacher is instructing a small group of students. So if the assistant teacher was making that list of students who appears to be struggling while the lead teacher is teaching, the assistant teacher can then take those students into that breakout room, which we were just talking about in Zoom, and give them some more small group instruction, maybe help clarify any misconceptions they may have, or give them more practice problems. My summer school co-teacher and I, we use this model a lot this summer. She would continue the lesson for students who are ready in the main Zoom room, and I would work with students in the breakout room who needed that additional help. And I was really surprised. I guess being in the brick and mortar school, a lot of times students are embarrassed to get pulled aside and work one-on-one with a teacher. But in Zoom, they loved it. That the students would send us a message in the chat box saying, are we doing breakout rooms today? Because I'm kind of confused and I really need some help. So this type of differentiation is a type of differentiation because the students can choose how they want to receive their instruction, whether it's whole class with the lead teacher or small group setting, whatever works best for them. So these two are easily done in a virtual setting. The next one, station teaching, this is where the teachers split up the students and they're delivering a small group but it's different content. This can easily be achieved using the breakout rooms. So for example, I can have some students in a breakout room going over translation while my co-teacher has another group of students going over reflections. And you can even have a third group of students who are working independently in their own breakout room. And at the end of your station, you switch. So again, utilizing those breakout rooms, you can easily use station teaching. The next model that I'm going to discuss is parallel teaching. This model, the teacher divides the class into two groups, but you are delivering the same content. In Zoom, for this summer, we had classes with up to 22 people. Those Zoom windows seem to get smaller and smaller with more students in your classroom. We decided just to divide the classes into two breakout rooms, just to make our class sizes smaller. We were delivering the same content, but it was easier to see which students were getting it, because instead of 24 little boxes, we were looking at now only like 11 or 12. And so with parallel teaching, you just split the classes up and you're teaching the same content, but it allows you to see, get a better idea of where the students are. The last model that I'm going to discuss is team teaching. Both teachers deliver instruction to the whole class at the same time. They are both responsible for delivering the content. In Zoom, that may be both teachers are talking, writing on the presentation, chatting with students in the chat room. The student should not be able to tell who's the lead teacher and who's the assistant teacher, because you are both equally responsible and you're both delivering the same content. So I know that seemed like a crash time trying to discuss all these models with you. But this is just an easy way. I feel that teaching virtually, it lends itself to DI. It's easier to differentiate and to co-teach. And the kids absolutely loved it. The last feature that I'm going to talk about on Zoom is the closed captioning option. You do have to enable closed captioning in your settings in order to see the feature in your Zoom meeting. You as the host can either type what you are saying, or you can assign a student or a teacher to manually type what you are saying. It's not very realistic at all. I did play with it, and it's very difficult for you to type or have someone else type what you're saying, because obviously they're going to be so worried about what you're typing that they may miss part of the lesson themselves. But we recommend that if you do have a student who requires closed captioning, that you use Google Slides instead. Google Slides actually offers live closed captioning and will display what you say as you speak. And Stacy's actually going to go over Google Slides later in our presentation. So this is actually a beautiful time to transition to our next part of our presentation, Google, which Stacy is now going to present.
So before we move into Google Classroom, there are a couple of new vocabulary words that I just want to make sure that we've all heard and can use. These were kind of new for me in the last month or so. So I felt like if it was new to me, it might be new to some other people. So we've got synchronous learning and we've got asynchronous learning. Synchronous learning simply means that we're all together at the same time, maybe not necessarily the same place, but together. We're doing it at the same time. What Kylene described to you with Zoom was synchronous, because these things happened all at the same time. Asynchronous means that students are learning at different times. And so what we'll talk about with Google Classroom and some of these other platforms really has more to do with that asynchronous element. And that's new to us. As teachers, we are used to, having things right in front of us, and when we can kind of monitor everyone and monitor their thinking and their learning and give them feedback on the spot. And so that asynchronous idea is something that's very new to us. So hopefully we will be able to today give you some ideas about using Google Classroom and some other platforms to embrace that asynchronous component. So in Google Classroom, you can assign things to groups or even individual students. You can tier assignments. You can offer students support scaffolds, and that can be for students with special needs, or even just for the sake of differentiating instruction for your different types of learners. And also another thing that's really very it just kind of speaks to the whole idea of differentiation is the idea of choice boards. So in Google Classroom, the teacher can create an activity, and then whenever you go to assign it, you can assign it to a group of students or to just one student, however you want. And the way you do that is over in the top right corner of your Google Classroom assignment. When you're making the assignment, there's a little drop down menu that says all students. And if you click on that and deselect all students, then you can go in and pick particular students that you want that assignment to go to. This is a great way to tier assignments so that you have a group of online on-level learners, a group of below-level learners, a group of enrichment learners that are above level that need a little bit of a challenge. They only see the assignment that you send them. So this, to me, this is a great way to differentiate and to let students be successful based on what you think. I do want to point out to you that throughout the presentation, Kylene and I have embedded these little videos for you to watch whenever you do get to have access to them. The ones in the little screen are small, but if you want to view it on YouTube in the larger size, you can click the link at the bottom of the page. But these are just very quick, 5 minutes or less, step by step. This is how you do this thing. This is how you do that thing. So that's what those are about when you see them in slides. Since we didn't have a whole lot of success with our video a while ago, we won't subject you to that anymore. So anyway, so support scaffolds. In addition to tiering assignments, which would be looking back on that framework of differentiation, you would be differentiating the content based on readiness. You can also differentiate activities by just offering support scaffolds. So in this, you might differentiate the process based on their learning profile. That's what this would look like. So you might provide videos for them. You might provide an extra tutorial that they could use or not use if they need. And so this little PD tutorial that you see on your screen, this is a short video on how to make a video out of a PowerPoint. Any PowerPoint program that you have on your school computers right now has the capability of creating a video, and it's so simple. You have the option of putting your face on it so that your webcam is used, or taking your face off. I know that there's a couple different schools of thought when it goes to seeing the teacher or not, but you have that power to decide that in the video. So you could literally take any video that, any PowerPoint that you already have made, and you could record yourself reading over the slides so that if you have students who need text read aloud to them, this is one way that you can meet their needs and post that in your classroom as a scaffold for them to access if they need it. Some other ideas, just very quickly. These all come from a man named Wiley Brazier. He is the Google Educator Group for Louisiana leader. Great resources, a great curator of resources for us. I've really enjoyed digging through his material. And I came across some information about differentiation and scaffolding that he provides. And so he suggests, obviously, and we know this, use images, visuals. There's a great video that Casey Moscow did yesterday on interactive slides. And she basically showed us how to make anything interactive. And so you can do that by providing a sentence stem to a student using a PDF, putting it in a Google Doc or a slide, and then putting text box over it so that you give them a sentence stem to help them get their writing started. There's a little tutorial there for you if you need something quick to show you how to do that. Another couple of ideas: bold or color change those vocabulary words. Help those words stand out so that your struggling readers, their eye is drawn to it automatically. Obviously, linking any kind of supplemental materials, making those available for students. Just the choice of being able to choose, do I want to access this or not? You're differentiating, because student choice is a huge component of individualized learning. There are calculators out there that are online. I know that, if they're using an iPad, they can access the calculator there. Desktop or laptop computers have calculators as well, but here are some online ones. The first one is a regular calculator, and the second one is a scientific calculator. Consider how you format the text. So if you have a PDF that you want your kids to read, there are some suggestions there by Mr. Brazier about the size of the text, the font type, the spacing between lines, and all of that to kind of help the readability be more, I guess, appealing to readers of all types. And then choice boards. I love choice boards. I will say that one of the downsides of a choice board is that there's a lot of work on the front end getting that thing ready. But boy, oh boy, does it offer a rich, robust opportunity for learners because they get to choose. It really does engage them, and it makes them active rather than passive learners. So Slides Mania is a great resource. They have some templates already done. So it's not like you're having to start from scratch. You really just have to go in there and change your content if this is something that would appeal to you. Again, like we said, this presentation is really about giving you options for resources and helping you if you just take one or two ideas away and say, oh, I want to try that, we're giving you ways to access those things so that you can learn more about them. Okay, so the last little part that we're going to talk about, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about hyperdocs. And these are just strategies for differentiation. Now, you can use this in Google Classroom, or you can use this, a hyperdoc in Teams, or even in Seesaw. The captioning, the voice typing, and the immersive reader extension, those are all specific to Google. So we'll go into hyperdocs. Hyperdocs is something that I really didn't know a whole lot about before this summer started. And I used to think that I was big stuff. You know, if I gave my students a document through email or something like that that had a link that took them to another place, and I was like, yeah, I'm big stuff. So technology savvy. But that's really just scraping the surface of what we can do with students, especially in an online environment. If you have ever given your student a document, like a Word document or a Google Doc or even a slide that has a link that takes them somewhere else and gives them something else to do, that is awesome. It's absolutely valuable, but it's not a hyperdoc. That is what's known as a multimedia text set. And the best way to, I guess, explain this is that a multimedia text set could be a component of a hyperdoc. So a hyperdoc is something so much bigger and more robust. Imagine it like you take your entire lesson from start to finish, and all of those best practices, like your anticipatory set, your direct instruction, your guided practice, your independent practice, your formative assessments throughout. And all of that is in your hyperdoc. And so with a hyperdoc, students would start at the top and work their way through that document, and they are getting the exact same instruction that they would be getting live. It's just delivered in a digital format. And so what this might look like in a face-to-face classroom versus an online classroom might be this. Say that in my hyperdoc, my anticipatory set, it was a math classroom, and I want students to, I'm going to introduce a new math concept to them. Well, I want them to try to do the math problem by themselves without any teaching. I want to see what they already know. So in my face-to-face classroom, I might have students try to solve the problem on a sticky note and maybe put it at the top of their desk. And then at the end of the lesson, maybe go back to that sticky note and revise their thinking, or even affirm, hey, I was on the right track, or I was on the right track for most of it, and this is where I kind of went wrong and I need to revise my thinking. Well, that you could do that in your face-to-face class, and then in your online class, the students would access that same prompt, but instead of writing their thinking down on a sticky note, you might have a link to take them to a Padlet where they write their thinking down and post it and then come back to it. Now with a Padlet, that might be more where everybody sees it. So sort of like if you were to have them take that sticky note physically and go put it on a board somewhere. If you wanted it to be more private, then it wouldn't be a Padlet. You might have them do a journal entry or something like that. So moving down into the next part of your real lesson, whether it's your real lesson face-to-face or your real lesson online, that might be where you do your direct instruction. So in the classroom, obviously you would be face-to-face teaching your students, modeling for them, talking to them, formatively assessing them within your modeling. For the HyperDoc, for this part of the lesson, you might send them to a Khan Academy video, or you might video yourself teaching the exact same thing that you would be doing with them live. You could even, if you wanted to sprinkle some formative assessment in there, make that video something that they could access on Edpuzzle and sprinkle those formative assessment questions throughout the video. So I won't go through the whole lesson, but I think you kind of get the point of how a HyperDoc can actually be the same thing as what you would be doing in the classroom. You're just delivering the instruction in a different manner. So do we have any burning questions, or can we save them till the end? Okay, great. Okay, so just to let you know, these resources at the bottom of the page, anytime you see a picture like this or anything, it's always linked to something else. So this in itself would be considered, I think, a multimedia text set, because I'm giving you information about where to go to get something else, but it isn't necessarily a start to finish best practice lesson, if that makes any sense to you. Okay, so the next few things we'll go through fairly quickly. These are all things that you can do within the Google Suite. And Kylene mentioned it earlier that you can caption in slides when you're in presentation mode. At the bottom, you see that little, whenever you wiggle your mouse, you see that little bar that comes up. If you click on captions, you can activate that, and you can even choose where you want the caption to appear. Do you want it at the top of the screen or at the bottom of the screen? Do you want it really, really big or really, really small? So there are even some options for you there. The implications of this are huge. Think about your English language learners. As they're hearing you speak, they're seeing those words appear on the screen. And then again, there's a little video there for you to watch that in action. If that's something that you're interested in using and you want to know a little bit more about it, you can access that video. Voice typing in Google Docs. You know, of course, there are tons of things that you can do with this, but I was just kind of thinking, okay, teaching third grade for a long time, you know, writing was such a difficult thing for some of our learners, because it wasn't that they didn't have good ideas. It wasn't that they didn't know what they wanted to say. It was that they had so much trouble getting their ideas from inside their head to a piece of paper. And so with voice typing in Docs, if you have a student, especially if it's an online situation where you don't have the teacher right there beside them, encouraging them, giving them prompts, giving them little ideas, one thing that they could do is activate the voice typing in Docs and speak their thinking, speak it out loud. And one thing that we do know with language is that, you know, thinking it, then speaking it, then writing it. If we skip that step of speaking it, writing it is going to be so much more difficult, maybe even impossible. And so this is a good scaffold to put in place for a struggling writer that may just be having a hard time getting their ideas down on paper. And the way that you access this, it's built into Docs already. You don't even have to, you know, do anything special. You go to the Tools tab, look down about halfway and see the voice typing function, click it, activate it, and you're ready to go. So your part in that would obviously be teaching your student how to do that, how to access that. And then everybody's favorite new thing is Immersive Reader. In Office 365, Immersive Reader is readily available, and it works on pretty much any document that we've played around with in our office. The one thing I will say about the Chrome extension Immersive Reader, it doesn't work in Google Docs or slides. It works in websites. Which is great, but and it also, I think it works with a PDF, but I think if you have something in a Google Doc that you need to have read aloud to your students, that poses a problem. So there are a couple of other options. They're both extensions. One is called Read and Write Chrome, and the other one is called Snap and Read. And they're both, unfortunately, paid extensions. I think that the Read and Write Chrome does have some free functions, so you might want to download that and check that out. Do you know anything about those, Kylene?
We do have Snap and Read through our parish. Like it's already it's already saved on my computer. So I do think the Snap and Read, I think that may have like took over Kurzweil.
Yes.
So you do have Snap and Read available in our parish. You may have to get it downloaded or, the password or something like that, but Snap and Read is available.
There was a session yesterday morning at 8:30 on Snap and Read. And so if you want more information about that, I would definitely recommend going back and watching her session. And she did explain about how students can get access to that. Okay, so other platforms to differentiate. We've talked a lot about what to use in the Google Suite, but you guys have spent a whole lot of time this summer getting certified in some other platforms. So Kylene is just going to quickly go through about 5 of them and just kind of spit out some ideas for you about how you can use those platforms specifically to differentiate instruction for your students. Oh, and before she gets started, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that, and I don't think I told her this, I went ahead and added some little icons at the bottom of each surfboard. And what those are links to other places that either show you more ideas about differentiation using that particular app or how to use that app in general. So just to let you know, that's what those are there for.
Right. And like Stacy said, pretty much every school I've seen on Facebook, congratulations, they received 100% certification. These were all the platforms that we received our certification in, watching the videos, taking the little test. What I'm going to do is just give you some ideas on how to use these platforms to differentiate. So the first one, Seesaw, is very much like Google, but it may be more appropriate for the younger age students. And what I love about Seesaw is that you can send out assignments or videos to individual students as needed. So if you know one student is struggling with one skill, you can make a little video or send a different assignment and send it to just that one student. It could be a prerequisite video or assignment, or it could even be an enrichment video. If you have one child that is above and beyond ready to move on to the next step, you can send an assignment just for that one student. One really cool feature that I loved about Seesaw is that the kids can have the choice on how to complete their assignment. They have a little button where they could speak their answer. They have a button where they can type in their answer. And they even have a draw feature. And so that right there, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is DI right there. Just so easy to utilize in your classroom. So again, they have that little link below the surfboard that you can look at for different ideas, but those were just a few for Seesaw. The next one is Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a wonderful platform. I've actually seen it used a lot last year before we even went virtual. Just to give you a couple of ideas on how to differentiate with it is students can record their responses orally instead of writing. I saw this in Wit and Wisdom. They have those fluency passages. Every day the kids would go on Flipgrid and read their fluency passages, and it timed it. And so the kids could see, oh, I did better. I didn't stumble as much this time. And by Friday, they were a rock star reading their fluency passages with very little errors. Another thing, a lot of times students are embarrassed to have a partner read their essay for proofreading or reading their essay to a partner for proofreading. I've seen teachers that the students will read their own essay, their own constructive response on Flipgrid, and then they play it back. And when they play it back, they can hear the errors. They can see, oh, wait, that sentence sounds choppy. I need to fix it. And so that's just one way. And again, some kids may be embarrassed to read to a partner, but they're okay reading on Flipgrid. So again, that's just giving those students those choices. You can either read to a partner or you can read to Flipgrid. So it's all about choice. Edpuzzle is another great platform where teachers can make a video and insert questions throughout the video. This will allow students to rewatch videos or pause a video to kind of help with their comprehension. Sometimes I have to pause a video, take notes, write something down, and then you can hit play again. Or sometimes I have to rewatch it all together. So Edpuzzle is very easy. You can find any video that's already there and customize it to make it your own by adding questions. And they do have a lot that's already there that you can also use. Kahoot, I think everybody's familiar with Kahoot, but one thing that I was so excited to see is that Kahoot now offers a challenge. So teachers, we all can play a live game, and you can, of course, vary the time to answer a question. Sometimes you can do like 2 minutes for the students that you know may need a longer time, but you can also tier the questions. You can start with the easier questions and get harder to the more challenging questions throughout the game. But with the challenge, instead of it being live, you can just send a challenge for like a homework, and the students can work at it on their own pace. And you can even send different challenge games to different students. I taught summer school this summer. When the kids who were still on one-step equations, we sent a challenge on, hey, here's a challenge game on one-step equations. But we had a couple kids who were ready to do two-step equations. Okay, here's a challenge on two-step equations. And that way, by looking at that, and you can look at a report saying how the kids did. We could say, okay, this person is now ready to move on to two-step, or this person's, nope, we need to put them in a breakout room and work more one-on-one. So we love the challenge feature on Kahoot this summer. The last one that we're going to talk about is Screencastify. And this platform, it allows teachers to make recordings. It's very easy to make your own little videos. The teachers can make short videos on maybe a reteaching of a difficult skill, or maybe a prerequisite skill that the students need to know. And they can post it in their Google Classroom. This will allow the students to go to Google Classroom or Seesaw or whatever platform we're using and have a whole library of videos. And the students can look at that library and say, you know what, I need that one. And they get to choose which ones they need to see. And again, they can pause it, write notes down, maybe write questions. They can rewatch the videos. So I have used Screencastify a lot this summer, and I know at first it was difficult for me, and I would have to delete, try again. But the more you play with it, it really is easy to make your own videos and to post on Google Classroom. So those are the ones that we all pretty much got certified in this summer, and just giving you ideas on how you can use those platforms to differentiate.
Okay, so this is not a page that we will go over. I just wanted to include this resource for you because if you come across a problem or you come across something that you just need to know how to do this, you will find it on one of these sites. There are tons and tons of tutorial videos out there on how to do something. And honestly, you know, you could probably just Google it. You know, how do I add a student to blah, 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 or how do I do this? And, you know, chances are one of these websites will be one of the first things that pop up for a tutorial video for you. So really, this is just here for you to be able to access. All of the boxes are links to that website. Just a very, very robust library of resources for you. And in that, I will say this, that when you're thinking about differentiation, you're thinking about, okay, differentiating in the face-to-face classroom is one thing, but how do we even get started in differentiating in the online classroom? And my best advice to you, coming from the beginning now that, you know, none of us have actually tried this yet. We're all just kind of still figuring things out. And this was one of the things that I did, just, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. So, you know, in teaching online this summer for summer school, a lot of the things that I did was really just out of necessity. And so my encouragement to you would be to think about, okay, what is the purpose? What do I want to do with my students? Go back to that framework in one of those beginning slides where we differentiate content, process, or product based on student readiness, student interest, or student learning profile. What are you wanting to do there? And then think about, okay, how might I be able to do that in the real classroom, in the face-to-face classroom? And what tools do I have at my disposal digitally that I could do that same thing with my students digitally? An example would be not necessarily with differentiation, but just with formative assessment. I mean, think about how many times you monitor your students and you do a quick check-in with them on how they're doing in the middle of a lesson. Well, that's easy to do face-to-face. You just ask them and give a thumbs up, give a thumbs down, write their answer on a sticky note, use a whiteboard or whatever. And so thinking about how you would mimic that online, I've heard some crazy creative things over the last day and a half from our awesome teachers and how they're doing those kinds of things. So I have no doubt that you'll be able to do that with differentiation as well. But my advice is to start with what we know. We know how to differentiate, and we know how to differentiate in the face-to-face classroom. Now we take those things and apply them to what we maybe don't know yet, which is how do we do that effectively in the virtual classroom. This again is another curation slide. We are just, I just put some resources there for you and ways to get to them. 2 weeks from now, when you're planning a lesson, you might think, okay, I remember them talking about something and I don't remember the name of it, but if I saw the name again, I would remember it. Well, that's what this page is here for you for, because that's how I work. Again, this is just here for you as a useful landing place for you if you need to find something that maybe you've heard of in one of our sessions. Okay, so finishing up, we're going to spotlight some of our questions that we had in the chat. And I think we have a few. Let me go back and find this
Jessica's.
one. Yep, I'll put Jessica's up. And Jessica asked if you're the host. Now we're talking about Zoom. This is back when we were talking about Zoom. If you're the host, can you see all the breakout rooms at one time?
Okay, so no, if you're the host and you put all your students in their own breakout rooms, or if you make any breakout rooms, the only way you can see is if you join that breakout room. And I do apologize that the video wasn't working, but in that video, you can go back. It's a short 5-minute video, and I show you exactly that. Now, what we did this summer is, let's say you had all your students in a breakout room and you're hopping. You can go from one breakout room to the next. And let's say the third person, you realize they're kind of stuck. You can close all breakout rooms, put everyone back in the Zoom breakout room, maybe clarify directions, maybe say, hey, by now you should be on question 5, or reteach. And once you spend that time clarifying, then you can reopen the breakout rooms. What's great about their breakout rooms is once you make them, they will stay the same until you end your Zoom meeting. Now you can make changes if you need to, but you don't have to, oh, I have to close breakout rooms and go back and remake them. No, you can literally close them, redeliver, clarify, and then say, okay, everybody back in your rooms, and hit open again. So you can't see it, everybody's breakout room, but that's what we did. We would just close it, go back in the main room, redeliver, clarify, and then put them back in their breakout rooms. Okay?
Okay, so Renee had a great question. This is also about Zoom. That's not it. This is it. Can students hear the teacher speaking to a student in another breakout room? Awesome question.
Right. No, each breakout room is like its own individualized Zoom meeting. They call it a breakout room because it's like a Zoom meeting in a Zoom meeting. So the only people who can hear the breakout room is if you're in it. Now, again, as a host, I can go into any breakout room and speak to any student, but no one else can hear it. Now, here's what I did this summer. And this is what I would recommend. I would recommend you go and practice on Zoom. You create an account. It's free. You go and click host a meeting. Now, make sure you have the breakout room enabled. But what I did is I stole all my own children's phones, tablets. I'm like, come here, give me your phone. I would log their phone into my Zoom meeting, and you can give it right back to them. Just don't let them, cancel out the Zoom meeting. And I would just have all my kids' phones on my Zoom meeting so I could practice. I practice how does the breakout rooms work? I practice how can I share a screen? How can I share my PowerPoint? How can I share a whiteboard? Because in the Zoom, you can share a whiteboard and you can write on the whiteboard. There's so many things that are great with Zoom. And like I said, I remember calling Jennifer Vicknier before summer school started, crying, like, I can't do this. And by the third day, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm okay. So it is something that requires you to sit there and practice and play with it. But I really would recommend just steal your kid's phone, host a meeting at your house, and then just play with it. It's very user friendly.
Okay, and I think that's all the questions that we saw that were specific to our content. So before we finish, and it looks like we'll get finished a few minutes early. So yay, we were so worried that we were going to be
I
close
was
to
talking
the
pretty
end.
fast. I was worried.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I know that we have an issue with the I know that we have an issue with y'all being able to access the slide deck. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going, as soon as we're done with our presentation, I'm going to go back and figure out what's happening with this so that when you click here, you should, it should force a copy for you and you should be able to open it. Surely there's just some weird thing that I didn't click or some mistake that I made that I need to go back and fix. And so, oh, well, I've got that covered up so you can't see what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to fix it to where you can click here and access the copy of the slide deck. I'll probably be calling on my friend Nikki to help me out with that, but just give us about maybe 30 minutes or so, and then you should be able to try it again. Here's what I would recommend doing. At the bottom of your screen right now, or under your viewing window, when you look at the description of this video, if you open it up all the way to see more, there's a link to the attendance thing. There's a link to the presentation. There's a link to the survey. Give us about 30 minutes or so and click that link to the presentation, and that'll open it up new, and hopefully everything will be reset and you should be able to access it then. If for whatever reason you can't and there's a problem, please email me. And this is my email, stacy.jemison@lpsb.org. And this is Kylene's email. I also have a YouTube channel that I've started. This is for my elementary math people. I've started doing some little tutorial videos to kind of help you along with flipping your classroom. So say you're teaching first grade and say you're teaching first grade and you want to give your kids an introduction to 10 friends. And, you know, those two numbers that we add together to make 10. I've got a video, little 5-minute video that kind of introduces them to that idea. So you could get them to view that ahead of time so that whenever you meet for face-to-face class, whenever that is, or whenever you're ready to do instruction, they already kind of have an idea of what that means or what that looks like. So anyways, just letting you know that's there. So if you guys will access the Tech Week survey, we sure would appreciate your feedback. We thank you so much for your patience with our limited understanding of this technology. But hey, we did
We're
it.
learning.
We feel good about it, and I would do it again if I have to.
And we're still learning.
That's
so.
right. So thank y'all so much for your patience with us and for your participation. You guys have been an awesome group. And so please finish that survey for us and just have a great afternoon.
Bye.